In 1990, a young woman from a small Oregon town vanished without a trace, leaving her parents without answers for 22 long years. But after all that time, her father, flipping through an old high school yearbook, noticed something that would change everything. A fog, rolling in from the Pacific, wrapped the coastal town of Morning Cove, Oregon, in its familiar morning shroud. Frank Miller stood at the window of his daughter's bedroom, watching the mist swirl around the distant lighthouse. The rugged beauty of this small town, with its dense forests and steep cliffs towering over the ocean, had always been a source of comfort for him, until 22 years ago, when his daughter, Anna, disappeared. Frank turned away from the window, his gaze sweeping across the untouched room. Everything remained just as Anna had left it on that spring day in 1990, a few weeks after her high school graduation. Posters still hung on the walls. Her desk remained neatly organized with textbooks and notebooks. The closet was full of clothes that no one had worn for more than 2 decades. "It's time," he whispered to himself, remembering the conversation with his wife, Helen, the night before. They had finally decided that, after 22 years, they had to accept that Anna wasn't coming back. Today was the day they would sort through her belongings, donating what could be useful, and moving the rest to the attic. He worked methodically, sorting items into boxes. When he reached her school supplies, he hesitated. These items symbolized his daughter's dreams, her future that was never to be. She had been accepted to Oregon State University, planning to study marine biology. As he sorted through textbooks, Frank stumbled upon a book he didn't recognize, Anna's high school yearbook. Surprisingly, he realized he had never opened it before. In the difficult days following her disappearance, neither he nor Helen could bear to see Anna's smiling face on those pages, captured alongside classmates who had gone on to live their lives. Frank sat on the edge of the bed and opened the yearbook. He flipped through the glossy pages until he found Anna's senior portrait. Her smile, so bright and full of hope, pierced his heart with a familiar ache. His gaze shifted to the photograph next to Anna's, her best friend Allison, or Allie Davis. Out of curiosity, Frank turned to the individual student profiles. He found Anna's page and read her words. "Thanks to Mom and Dad for always believing in me, to the teachers who pushed me to be my best, and to my best friend Allie. Don't forget to return my copy of The Secret Garden, old lady. Love you forever." Frank's thoughts returned to the book. The Secret Garden had been her favorite since childhood. Had Allie ever returned it? He couldn't recall seeing it among his daughter's things. Just then, Helen walked in. She froze, seeing the books scattered across the room. "Frank, what is all this? I thought we were finally moving forward, not digging up the past again." "I'm not digging, Helen. I found her yearbook," Frank explained, pointing to Anna's note. "She mentioned a book she lent to Allie. I was just curious." Helen sighed heavily. "A book, Frank. It doesn't matter anymore. It's not worth bothering Allie about it." "Do you know where Allie is now?" Frank asked. "I see her in town sometimes. She lives over in the harbor dorms now," Helen replied reluctantly. "I was thinking maybe I'd go see her," Frank said carefully. Helen protested, not ready to face someone so closely tied to their past and their pain. But Frank felt a pull he couldn't explain. He promised he would go alone and left, clutching the yearbook to his chest. The drive to the dormitory where Allison Davis now lived took 20 minutes. He found her room, knocked, and was greeted by a woman in her early 40s who didn't recognize him at first. "Allie, it's Frank Miller, Anna's father." Her eyes widened in shock, then filled with a sad warmth. "Mr. Miller, oh my goodness, please come in." Frank entered the cozy room and explained why he had come, showing her the yearbook. Allie's expression softened into a sad smile.
No, I never did return it. I was such a forgetful kid back then. She retrieved a worn copy of The Secret Garden from a storage bin. After she disappeared, I couldn't part with it. It was the last thing I had of hers. Frank took the book and carefully opened it. A folded page torn from a teen fashion magazine was being used as a bookmark. Frank unfolded it and was met with a photo spread featuring young models. His attention was drawn to a young man in stylish clothes. Something about him seemed familiar. "Who's this?"
But by that time, Anna was dating Brian Novak. He was their main suspect at first. Frank's mind swirled. He looked at Jake's photo again. Why would she use his picture as a bookmark? "Oh, that," Allie said with a faint, bitter laugh. "That was from Anna's favorite magazine. She tore out the page with his face on it, folded it up, and said there was no better use for it than as a bookmark to crush his smug face." Despite the explanation, a seed of unease was planted. "Do you know where Jake is now?" he asked. Allie had his address from a recent class reunion notice and forwarded it to Frank's phone. He left Allie's, his mind a storm of new questions. He should have gone home, but instead, he found himself driving to Jake Monroe's address in one of Morning Cove's more affluent neighborhoods. He parked across the street from a spacious, modern house. A man emerged, older, but unmistakably the boy from the yearbook. It was Jake Monroe. Frank got out of the car and approached. "Jake Monroe? My name is Frank Miller. My daughter, Anna." Jake's friendly demeanor vanished. His face became a cold mask. "What do you want?" he demanded, his voice instantly hostile. "I told the police everything I knew 22 years ago. I barely knew her. I have a reputation to maintain now. I don't want people seeing you here asking questions. You'd better leave." Frank was stunned by the venomous, defensive reaction. It was far too intense for a simple question about a long-lost classmate. He returned to his car, deeply unsettled. Jake wasn't just annoyed. He seemed panicked. He started to drive home, chastising himself for upsetting Helen's wishes, but he couldn't shake the image of Jake's panicked eyes. He pulled over in the town center to collect his thoughts. As he sat there, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Got out of his car and followed, his heart pounding, moving silently through the dense undergrowth. From behind a large rock, he watched in a horror as Jake began to dig a small, shallow hole in the rocky soil. When he was done, he knelt, opened the wooden box, and stared at its contents for a long time. Finally, he placed the box in the hole, laid the flowers on top, and began to fill it in. As he finished, his voice, just loud enough to be heard over the crashing waves, carried on the wind. "I think you can keep these memories now, Anna." The name hit Frank like a physical blow. He stumbled back in shock, a loose rock skittering under his foot. Jake's head snapped up. "Who's there?" he shouted, his voice sharp with suspicion. He scanned the trees, but seeing nothing, he muttered to himself, gathered his empty water canister, and walked back to the cabin, leaving the shovel behind. He got in his car and drove away. Frank waited until he was sure Jake was gone. Trembling with a mixture of fear and adrenaline, he emerged from his hiding spot. He had to know what was in that box. He grabbed the shovel Jake had left leaning against the cabin and returned to the freshly disturbed earth. He began to dig. His movements were frantic. Just as his shovel struck the hard edge of the wooden box, a voice snarled from behind him, freezing the blood in his veins. "I knew someone was there. I was right." Jake had circled back through the woods. His face was a mask of triumphant fury. "You shouldn't have come back, old man." He lunged, trying to wrestle the shovel from Frank. A desperate struggle ensued on the precarious cliff's edge.
Frank, though older, fought with the strength of a father on the verge of a terrible truth. He managed to pull his phone from his pocket with one hand and press the SOS button just as Jake knocked it away, sending it skittering toward the edge. As they wrestled, Jake screamed, "You don't understand. She betrayed me. I can't let this ruin my life." The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Frank broke free for a second. "You killed her," he choked out. "You killed my daughter." "She shouldn't have stayed away from me," Jake roared, his composure gone. He grabbed Frank by the throat, his fingers tightening, cutting off his air. As spots danced in Frank's vision, the distant wail of police sirens cut through the coastal quiet. Jake's grip slackened in stunned surprise. Within moments, police swarmed the cliffside, their guns drawn. They arrested a wild-eyed Jake Monroe who had collapsed into defeated sobs.
She was home, free in the ocean she adored. The long, dark chapter was closed. The healing could finally begin. Thank you for listening to the story until the end. Don't forget to leave your opinion about this story, subscribe to the Unbelievable But True channel, and share this video with your friends and loved ones. This motivates us to continue working on new stories. Don't miss the next amazing story that is about to appear on your screen. We are very grateful to you for being with us. In the description below this video, you can open a catalog of all the stories. See you soon.